Congrats on getting beyond 1 million. What got you here won't always get you there. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to reach beyond their 7-figure business and scale to 8, 9, and even 10 figures. I'm Brad Weimert, and as the founder of Easy Pay Direct, I have had the privilege to work with more than 30,000 businesses, allowing me to see the data behind what some of the most successful companies on the planet are doing differently. Join me each week as I dig in with experts in sales, marketing, operations, technology, and wealth building, and you'll learn some of the specific tools, tactics, and strategies that are working today in those multi-million, 8, 9, and 10-figure businesses. Life can get exciting beyond 1 million.
How many people are we leaving on the sidelines because for years it was all about you had to have the piece of paper, you had to have the degree, you had to have, that was your ticket to entry. And what I find interesting about this is if we all sat back and really look at our career descriptions, look at our job descriptions and ask ourselves, do we really need a degree for that one? And so that's something for me where if I'll give you a great example of this. Let's say we're hiring for an assistant project manager. Okay. Mm-hmm. If a person has a liberal arts degree and this person over here has worked 2 years at the same fast food restaurant, which one of those people is actually more valuable? I'm going with the person who's been in 2 years at the same fast food place, given the amount of turnover, the lunch crowd, the dinner crowd. That person is far more valuable than someone's got a liberal arts degree. What the hell does that tell me? So my challenge right now in society is looking just how are we going about doing business and in the way we're approaching people.
I love that. So, relative to that, inside of hiring, how much weight do you put on sort of value assessment or character assessment versus resume and practical experience?
Oh, Brad, excellent question. So it is well known. I'll go into interviews and I'll sit down and somebody will say, well, did you have a chance to look at my resume? No, I've never looked at a resume. I couldn't tell you where that never. Well, for one, I'm the last person people interview with. So fact of the matter is, if you've made it to actually sitting down with me, our team, they've looked at your resume. They know, so no, I'm going in strictly out of character. I want to have a conversation. I want to find out what's the biggest challenge you've overcome in life. I'm looking more like you nailed it, for a character assessment versus where you went to school. I remember one time we attempted to do a group interview, one time, first and last time, years ago. And I remember I went around the room and I asked each person, why do you feel that you're in the room? And one lady said, because I went to Yale. And immediately I remember thinking to myself, yep, you will not be working here, because if you just think because you went to Yale, that's how you got into the room. No, it's, Brad, I'll put it this way. I've got 4 kids, 9, 7, 5, and 4. Whew. So if all my children decide to go to college, okay, and it's already paid for, great, they'll graduate, no student loan debt, beautiful. So their role when they go to college is going to be go to class, then go to the library and study, go home, sleep, get up, do it again. They won't need to work, blah, blah, blah. So here's the thing. And I'm saying this about my own children. If they graduate and they get their degree, what do I really know about them? That's glorified high school. The only difference is mom wasn't there to wake you up each day. Like that's truly the only difference. So what I'm looking for again is character. Give me something that can show me where you could be a value to the company outside of, okay, you went to class, you studied, you passed the test.
Right. Well, and I guess relative to character, and by the way, hiring is one of these areas in my life where I'm consistently thinking about it, trying to get better at it. Started absolutely terrible, have graduated through the phase of mediocrity. And now I think I'm on the above average side, but still a lot of room to grow. But one of the things that I do think about college, and you hit on it, but I do think that just the capacity to follow a system and have accountability to the system of turning in the homework, showing up for the tests, making sure that you don't fuck those things up. There is value in that, right? It is indicative of some character inside you. Though certainly not everything, and certainly other people it demonstrate that character in other ways.
Well, totally. And follow what I said, because let's go take a step back. Like you said, following the system, turning in the homework on time. Well, again, you did all that in high school. Truly, the only difference is if you go off to college and your parents pay 100% of your education and you graduate with no student loan debt and you didn't have to work, that is nothing but glorified high school, because you're right. It's the same system. You're just off, if you live in Austin, now you're just off at, College Station at Texas A&M or, TCU and up in Dallas or Fort Worth. So what's the difference? Mom's not there to wake you up. But no, I'm not taking anything away from people who have degrees, but there has to be something deeper than just, I got a piece of paper.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that front. And I went to school, but it took me 7 years. And while I was doing it, I was selling. I was learning sales and very, very aggressively pursuing sales. I might be a little bit competitive. So, but on my resume, if you look at, hey, who is Brad Weimert? We're not even talking about my degree.
Yeah.
No. Like that, nor would I want anybody to have that be an identifying characteristic of who I am as a person. It's not even a footnote in my life. It was a thing that I thought that I had to do based on the era that I grew up in. And I only finished it because I have this thing in my head about finishing things I start, which is not always a good thing either.
So think about this, Brad. You asked me as well. When we go into to hiring, and we'll stay on all things people, because let's call it what it is. If you hire great people, you can build great process, you can make great profits. And with those great profits, you can do great things for the communities that you live and work in. So it all starts with people. In business, in our society where we are right now, companies need to take a step back and really look at how are we approaching people. And so I'll give you a couple of examples. Think of the way we reference people. So I'm going to throw out a few terms to you. Human capital. You've heard that term. I've heard that term. Human capital. Brad, what the fuck? Are we trafficking people? What the hell is human capital, man? Like that's
not
horrible.
Most of us.
Yeah. I mean, that's horrible. But you've got massive corporations referring to people as human capital. Or this one, people are our greatest asset. No, my stock portfolio is actually my greatest asset. If you're looking at people, and this is truth. Harvard did a study. They did a paper, and it talks about where much of corporate America was built on the same model as slavery. So if you look at a lot of the actual verbiage and language that we use, people are our greatest assets. Well, if people are in the field picking cotton or picking produce or whatever, then possibly they are your greatest asset, because if they're not producing and picking the cotton, then yeah, you got a point there. So even that and how we're going about it. And then the last one for me, Brad, you hear people say this all the time. We want to recruit and retain the best people. Now, the key word there is retain. Look up the definition of retain. To keep possession of. Man, I'm not trying to retain anybody. So it really, when you look at the way we're approaching business and we're approaching people, it's broken. I keep saying it's a broken playbook. So we don't want to recruit and retain at Scribe. We want to attract and provide. We want to attract great people. We want to provide meaningful work, great pay, awesome culture. So we want to attract and provide. We don't want to recruit and retain.
So relative to that, I know that this idea of retention, and I love highlighting the words that are used, because words are powerful and words are also reproductive. and they have meanings that generate emotions that bleed into every other part of your life, whether you're aware of it or not. I also know that people are afraid of losing things, relationships, businesses, revenue, big deals, etc. So this notion of retaining employees or keeping employees inside the company, I understand the fear around quote unquote losing a key part of your team. As the CEO of Scribe, what gives you comfort, or what gives you comfort in knowing that the company is going to exist with or without that one person? Or how do you think about that?
Yeah, the big piece is, and it's a little harder early on when you're a younger company and, maybe you're 10 people, 12 people, you lose someone. Yeah, that's going to sting a little bit. As you get bigger, you start getting into that 35, 50, 100 person range. You should actually be set up as a company that if one person left, it shouldn't just, completely, pull the carpet from up under you and oh my God, granted, you want all great people to stay with you. But over the last year, we've had several people leave the company for other opportunities where they can make more money, where they've been here for 4 years, 5 years, 2 years, and now they've grown to where, hey, this opportunity presented itself. Man, I celebrate people when they find, new opportunities. I don't get mad about it. And Brad, here's something, man. Someone asked me this the other day. They said, well, what do you feel about people not giving a 2-week notice? And I said, well, first of all, is it nice? Yes, it is nice if someone gives you a 2-week notice. I go, but let's take a step back. Where the hell is it written down that someone's supposed to give a 2-week notice? Like, did they teach that in business school? And because I don't have a degree, I missed the class, sort of? Because there is nothing written anywhere that says someone is supposed to give a 2-week notice, yet and still employers are pissed off if someone doesn't give a 2-week notice. And think about this. You just saw this with Elon Musk the other day. He showed up on a Friday and cut 50% of the company. He didn't give anybody a 2-week notice. So I find it interesting as companies, we're pissed off when someone doesn't give a 2-week notice, but we're quick to go lay people off. We're not, granted, we may give a severance package, but we don't give a notice.
That's an interesting reframe. I had an operations manager that I had for 5 years-ish or so, and he gave 8 days notice before leaving, and did so at the less than 24 hours after a pretty long endurance event I did. It was a 19-hour endurance event. So I get back in the office, and I'm on a call from the airport to the office. And then I show up in the office and he's right there. We finish the call, hang up the call, and he's like, I'm leaving. I'm out of here in 8 days. And I was like, motherfucker. I don't want to deal with this right now.
Yeah.
But you're right. There is the other parallel that I've heard along those lines is if you have a significant other and you want to end the relationship with a significant other, you don't tell them that we're going to call it quits in 2 weeks.
Right.
It doesn't matter how long you've been together. It's over right now. We're done right now.
Exactly.
It's not, hey, we're going to be done and let's live together for another 2 weeks and, just see how it goes.
We'll let this play out. Now, it's interesting. Like I said, the things of how we treat work, how we treat people, the expectations, the thoughts. I mean, so much of it is just broken. And I'll push even harder and say, if you are just pissed off because someone gave you a 48-hour notice, a 3-day notice, it says more about your organization that you're like, well, it would help us get, things in line. And well, that should have actually been done because someone could, God forbid, get in a car accident. Someone could be diagnosed with something to where they have to take an immediate leave of absence. So you just never know. So the company should be positioned regardless to be able to take something like that on. But to get pissed off because someone didn't give you a 2-week notice, I've never understood that.
I love that. Well, let me dig into that for a second because the idea of the company should be structured to run with or without one person. And certainly, I think you hit it on the head too, which is losing one person in a team of 10, very different than losing one person in a team of 100.
Right.
But relative to the company operating smoothly and having structures and systems to do so, what is your approach to standard operating procedures? There are, do you have loose checklists that people follow or guidelines? Do you have it down to the detail? How often are they updated? Because when you say, a company should be able to handle it if somebody goes, what I see most entrepreneurs struggling with is they have a set of operating principles and sometimes very detailed SOPs that nobody keeps up to date.
Yeah.
And so the person that quit, it was their role to keep this specific thing up to date, and they just didn't do it.
You know what they say, redundancy and processes. You heard me say it earlier. Great people can create great processes, then you can make great profits. So it all comes down to, what are the processes? And then, like you said, making sure that we teach, coach, mentor other people on all the processes. No one person should hold the keys to the kingdom to where, oh my gosh, Bill, Julie left, and what? Oh my God, what are we going to do? They knew you hear this a lot. This is institutional knowledge. Why does one person have all the institutional knowledge? Like this should be, like you said, down somewhere, because this isn't something that you just woke up one day and you realized, okay, Brad's got all the institutional knowledge. You've known that for quite some time. Why have you not taken time out to say, hey, Brad, we got to get what you know from your head down to paper, just in case, what they call it, hit by a bus, or, hey, Brad's going to leave and he's not going to give us a 2-week notice. So how do we put that down? Much of it, Brad, for me is, as entrepreneurs, CEOs, whatever, is, actually following through with what you need to do to operate the business. That's where I feel that most people, quote unquote, drop the ball, is they know, they're just not doing it. And my last piece on this is a lot of CEOs, especially early entrepreneurs, founders, they're so hung up with the letters CEO that they don't realize, hey, you're probably not the CEO. You need to hire a CEO to come in. You'll still be the founder. You're still the owner, but you're not the CEO. And that's something with a lot of early stage entrepreneurs, startup founders, that their identity is tied to the 3 letters, and they're actually holding the company back.
Yeah. So this will be a good interlude here. So JeVon McCormick, you are the CEO of Scribe Media. Previously, Book in a Box, which was founded by friends of mine, Zach and then Tucker Max, who some people know from his own book writing days. And Tucker at some point said to me, I was talking to him actually about you taking over and running the company. And he said, well, I realized that I didn't know how to do any type of management other than pigeon management. And I said, what the fuck's pigeon management? He said, well, I would fly in and just shit all over people and then I'd leave. And I said, I'm very good at that.
Yep.
So I thought that was funny, but that was spot on. And ultimately he wrote a blog post about abandoning the CEO title and saying he recognized that you were a real, quote unquote, real CEO is the language that he used, and that the company needed a CEO and he wasn't it. So I love that. I love the idea of acknowledgement that maybe you are not the CEO, but somebody needs to sit in that chair. So apparently you are that person. What's the difference?
One, I will say that I believe you have to enjoy the operational, the people part of it. And again, you have so many founders that are more in love with the title and in the letters than they are the actual, what does the role consist of? Because here's the thing. If you're the CEO of the company, your number one role is to serve and support. You serve and support the organization. And unfortunately, you got a lot of CEOs out there that believe because they have these 3 letters after their name, they're the dictator. And they're the oracle, the all knowing. And for me, man, I never want to be the smartest person in the room, man. Brad, if you and I are in the room together and I'm the smartest one, man, run your ass. But a lot of people, because they're the founder, because they're the CEO, they have this mindset that, I can't say I don't know. I'm supposed to know all the answers. No, you're not. Your role is to surround yourself in the company with people who know the answers. Your role is not to know all the answers. Your role is to know where to go get all the answers. So it's so many CEOs can't see past themselves, and they want to be the smartest person in the room. They believe they should know all the answers. And I don't operate like that. Brad, here's something funny since you brought up Tucker. I'm actually the largest, I'm the majority owner of the company now. So I came here, man, CEO, there were 9 of us. Here we are, 6.5 years later, man, 2,200 authors later, 120 people. There you have it.
I love that. Well, and I love, it's also really important. I normally kick the show off with stats because it's really important to know who you're listening to. And there's so much information out there today, and you can't take advice from people that haven't been there or done it. And if you do, you should at least recognize that that's what you're doing, right? It's fine to listen to somebody and listen to their hypothetical scenarios or their philosophy or strategies, but it's really helpful to understand the context of if they've actually applied it.
Totally.
And then known the outcome, right?
Totally. I've said this, Brad, before. Again, it sounds like I'm picking on college, but I'm not. If you are an Ivy League business professor, but you've never actually run a company, you can't tell me shit. You're teaching theory. You're not teaching me actual actionable insight of, hey, here's what it looks like to cash flow, wondering how you're going to make payroll, need that last deal to close so you can, if you've not actually been in the day-to-day, you're teaching theory.
Yeah, I had that problem in college. So I went to University of Michigan, and I remember sitting down with they had just started an entrepreneurship program. And I sat down with 4 people to talk about my admittance to the entrepreneurship program. And I sat down to find out that none of the 4 had a noteworthy business. I think somebody had done something very small, right? But they all came from, at best, they were intrapreneurs, right? At best, they were running a division of something in a company. And I lost all ambition and all steam around participating in that program. And ultimately fell on my face a bunch and figured it out myself. But but I wish that I would have found somebody that had been there, done it, to teach me, that I could have listened to, because that's where the value is. So
totally.
Completely agree there.
Yeah, it's if you look at some of your biggest names out there, and I will challenge anyone, take a step back and look who they've been surrounded by. So if you take Jeff Bezos, yes, before he, stepped down, retired, whatever, Jeff Bezos had a team of people around him, like 18 people that had been with him for years. Andy Jassy, who took over, had been with Jeff for years. So I will argue for any person who's the startup CEO who has grown significantly. Here's the perfect example. Mark Zuckerberg. Come on. We all know Sheryl Sandberg scaled that company. Well, why are we lying? He was the founder. Okay, great. Who scaled the company? Sheryl. And so if you look around and you see some great operators, I've caught shit for this one, Brad. For me, the greatest operator is Tim Cook. I mean, what Tim Cook has done since he's taken over Apple has been amazing. Now, the challenge where a lot of people give me shit about this, they're like, yeah, but innovation has fallen off. I said, I've never challenged innovation at Apple. I said, from a pure operational efficiency and effectiveness, shit, no one is better than Tim Cook.
What was his role in the Steve Jobs era? Was he the?
A lot of people don't know this. He was the COO.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Totally. It was not, to me, it was not shocking that Apple turned into what it's turned into. Tim came in and he applied what his skill set was. It wasn't innovation. It was operational efficiency and effectiveness, and they have killed it. I mean, think about this. 23% of their annual revenue comes from services now. Recurring revenue. It's not just, okay, we sold the phone. Now they got 23% of their annual revenue is reoccurring. Yeah, Tim's masterful to me. I'm a big fan of his.
Well, what's interesting about stats like that too, are that 23% comes from recurring of their annual revenue, but it's probably a disproportionate amount of their margin.
Yeah.
Right? Because that subscription revenue has a low cost relative to producing an iPhone or a Mac.
Well,
right?
Brad, you know this. Think of it. The damn App Store. They get 30% cut. I mean, come on. Like, so for every dollar, they're making 30 cents. That's insane.
For doing nothing.
Yes.
And it's not really nothing. They've got a big ass team of people auditing those apps and updating code, et cetera. But come on. When they're sitting on $200 billion in cash, right.
Cash. I mean, and don't hey, I am not mad at them. They are operationally just gifted. But $200 billion in cash, that's insane.
It is. Okay, so let's back out to your CEO role here.
All right.
Not quite 200 billion in cash sitting there. But you've got 120 people, you said, on the team? 120.
Let's see. So we've worked with 2,200 authors now. Some of the big ones people know. We did the David Goggins book. One of the best-selling memoirs of all time. We've got his second book coming out the first week of December. Yeah, man, that one's going to be huge. The way I explain it to people is, to me, Goggins' second book is like Top Gun and Top Gun 2. So Can't Hurt Me, his first one would be Top Gun. His second one, I hands down, it's better than the first one.
Well, I'll see if we can juggle our release schedule on this and drop this before the book.
Nice. That one's going to be huge. But the Nobel Peace Prize Committee we've worked with, the former CEO of Chipotle who took the company IPO, Monty Moran, we've worked with him. So, we got a lot of big names, but it's been growing, man. It's been paced growth. But you're balancing cash flow, hiring, the virus disruption happened. 19, 20, 21, we grew 41% on average year over year. So it's been a good run, man.
Yeah. So you mentioned that, the role of CEO for you is to serve and support. What are the other responsibilities? What are the buckets of things that you feel like your role encompasses right now as the CEO of a 120 person company? And where are you roughly in revenue? Are you open to sharing?
Yeah. So we, matter of fact, we just did a evaluation, man. And we've, there's some folks out there who value us close to that 9-figure range, which is very, very interesting. But I'd say we're back down a little bit for that. To me, that's pretty high. That's a far one, but, our revenue's awesome. That's great. But what are my other roles? Protecting the culture, upholding the culture. One of the things that we do, this, we've been named number 1 place to work in Austin, number 2 in Texas. Entrepreneur Magazine named us the number 1 company culture in America. Here's something funny, Brad. So, matter of fact, it was about a year ago. I was named the best CEO in Austin. And then back in June, I was named Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young. And when I accepted these awards, I got up there and I laughed and I said, here's what's funny to me is that we put CEOs on a pedestal, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is you can have the greatest plan. You can have the greatest vision. If you don't have great people to execute the plan or the vision, your plan and vision is shit. So I find it interesting how much we celebrate CEOs when at the end of the day, it's the great people I'm surrounded by that execute on the vision and the plan. So again, man, my role is to serve and support, uphold the culture, put people first. Where else can we make sure that we're taking care of people, we're listening to people, we're understanding the needs of people. So that's really where the role I play. And of course, you're in the financials, you're in your, speaking to the authors, making sure we're executing. Where can we improve? Where are we slipping? Let's call it what it is. Everybody makes mistakes. So yeah, but overall, man, it's culture and people.
I love that. So that to me is when I think about defining a role, I look at roles and responsibilities. And you kind of touched on responsibilities for a second there, which is, yeah, sure, I've got to do the financials, and yeah, sure, I've got to touch base with the authors. What are the square responsibilities that you say, hey, this is, I'm spending, X of my time making sure that these three responsibilities are tackled? And I ask this because CEOs tend to approach this differently. And it also tends to be different from funded companies versus bootstrap companies, but and from small companies to bigger companies. But how do you look at your core responsibilities? What is not on your plate and what definitely is?
What is, man, again, you saw this big over the last 2 years, right after the George Floyd murder. Diversity, equity, inclusion became a hot topic. Now again, we're dealing with things that we've never dealt with before. Roe versus Wade made it into the workplace, and you've got other conversations. Transgender, gay, pronouns. All these things that you go back 7 years, those weren't topics that were really discussed, on a big level like they are now. So really, a lot of that is really being in touch with it as well. One of the things that I'm very proud of is, 67% of our company is composed of women. The 4 highest paid people in the company outside of myself, all women. And so really staying in tune of what are we doing for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and making sure we're not weaponizing the words like society has done. You say diversity, man, we've weaponized that word in our society. And really, what are we talking about? Because people are shocked when I say this. Diversity. I can have diversity in a room of 10 middle-aged white guys. Some went to college, some didn't, some are married, some aren't, some have children, some don't. And so I can have diversity with 10 middle-aged white guys. And when I say that to people, they're a bit shocked. And I said, yeah, we've weaponized the word, because at the end of the day, we're talking about one thing: people. That's it. I'll give you, so you say, what do I do on a day-to-day? Here's one that was a big topic for us. Someone came to me, quite a few people came to me, and they said that we should mandate using pronouns in our email signature. And I said, no, I'll never do it. And they were like, what? You don't support that? And I go, no. I didn't say I don't support it. I said, there's 2 reasons why I'll never mandate that. I go, reason number 1, I have a GED. I don't even know what the hell a pronoun is. So that was number 1.
Love it. Love it.
But number 2, on a serious note, and people hadn't taken the time to think about this. So I grew up, Brad, my dad was black, my mom's white, so I'm half white, half black. And I grew up in the 70s, and, being half white, half black back in the 70s, not a good look. Black people didn't like me because I was half white. White people didn't like me because I was half black. And I was constantly asked this question: what are you? What are you? And I knew what they were asking. They were asking, what's your nationality? But they were asking the wrong question. What are you? I'm fucking human. That's what I am. And so fast forward back to, the use of pronouns. I said, the reason why I will never mandate pronouns in people's email signatures is because I'm not going to lessen people to a what. People are people. So we have a culture of welcome. If you want to use pronouns, you are more than welcome to do so. But to mandate it, I'll never do it, because I'm never going to put JeVon McCormick half white, half black. So why am I going to put JeVon McCormick they, them, he, his, whatever the pronouns are. And once I explained that to people had a very different view. Like, wow, that actually makes sense. I can see that. So, but again, if you want to do that, hey, Brad, you're welcome to use pronouns, do your thing, man. So those are little things that, like I said, man, we're navigating. This is some Lewis and Clark type shit. Who dealt with that 7 years ago? No one.
Nobody. Yeah. That's an interesting take on that. I like that a lot. It doesn't fully tell me how you spend your time as CEO other than making sure that the people are taken care of, which is not insignificant. But I guess like the point of clarity that I want, and this is, I think this is something for people to learn from, because, your through line, obviously from jump, is taking care of the people, and that people make everything happen, and that it is your team that's making things happen. Tactically, one of the struggles that people have, certainly in, startups, from 0 to 8 figures or multi 8 figures, or beyond, is how the fuck do I juggle it all? And sometimes those things as CEO feel like they're not as productive as, quote unquote, productive as the things that actually, quote unquote, get shit done. So are you following me here? I mean, that's obviously not proof to everybody, but
that. A big part of that, Brad, that now if we get into the tactics, if you're the CEO and like you said, you're scaling these companies and you're doing it early on, so much of this in the CEO role, you have to realize you are not responsible for everything. You have to delegate and you have to trust. Even this, and this is one of what I have seen is one of the hardest things for a lot of CEOs. Even if you see someone about to drive off the cliff, sometimes you got to let them drive off the cliff. Now, not to the point where it's going to be to the detriment of the company, but if it's something that's going to sting the hell out of that person, that's where the learning lessons happen. You can't, but much like your kids at home, you can't be there 24/7 to, oh my God, get off the couch. You're going to fall. You're going to bump your head. And you're one of those helicopter parents. You can't be a helicopter CEO. There are things that have to be learned within the organization that you may know the answers, but you cannot be in every single meeting taking care of every single aspect of the company. So a big part for me, Brad, you want to say the tactical part, teaching, coaching, and mentoring. I refuse to say training. You want to train, go to the gym, train your body, train a dog, train a horse. But I teach, coach, and mentor, and so much of it is by way of my mistakes. I say, okay, hey, here's what I did when I was the president of a software company. I made this major mistake. 90% of when I teach, coach, and mentor, it's through the mistakes that I made. So I'm constantly looking at how can I share more of my mistakes, my lessons learned. Matter of fact, we use Slack as an internal communication tool. We even have a channel called Lessons Learned, to where when someone learns something, they can share it with the rest of the organization. So because I'm big on how do you take your knowledge and share it across a ton of people so we can all grow together. So, tactically, yeah, again, am I in the financials? Yes, I'm in the financials. Why are we spending this? We're fully transparent. Every month we post our income statement for the entire company to see, how much cash came in, what's our revenue, how much did we spend on the cashews in the break room. They can see everything. Our salaries are transparent. Everyone knows what I make. Everyone knows what everyone else makes. So we're 100% transparent. So again, man, to me, those are very deep culture things. What that eliminates is people standing around like, well, I wonder what Brad's making. No, you can go look and see what Brad's making. Now we've eliminated that conversation. So from the CEO role, man, and then talking to our authors are one of the big things I do. And last one, Brad, because you wanted something tactical. This is a big one where I feel that regardless if you're an entrepreneur, a startup company, even if you're a Fortune 500 company, I feel like so many leaders miss this one. We as humans are always looking for the negative. So Brad, you and I will role play here. So Brad, how's everything been with you? Any comments, questions, or concerns? So if you notice what I just asked, your mind's going to go immediately to what went wrong, what didn't go right. So I flip it around and I go with what I call the 3 C's: comments, concerns, compliments. The reason why I end on compliments is because I want to take your mind to a place of what went well. What did we do that really stood out for you? Because here's the thing, Brad, you and I both know, if we fucked up, you're going to tell me. I don't need to take you there. You're going to tell me. But where a lot of companies drop the ball, we're so busy trying to find out what we fucked up, we forget to ask, what are we doing great so we can continue to enhance that? And that's where I feel like so many leaders, companies really miss that opportunity to find out, what are you doing great?
Yeah, I love that. And certainly a shortcoming of mine. One of the things that I think about often is my inability to celebrate wins. And that's what you're saying to some extent.
Totally. We use Slack. We have a celebrations channel. If an author gives us, feedback, shoots someone an email, we put it on the celebrations channel. It's constantly, it's not all about what did we fuck up? What are we doing great? Let's celebrate those things as well. Where are other opportunities for us to enhance the author experience? With us, Brad, I say this to people all the time. Most companies, they're either a product company or a service company. We're both. We're working with authors for 9 months, sometimes a year. So we have to provide a phenomenal author experience. That's the service. But at the end of that experience, we have to provide an incredible product, which is the book. So we've got to master both. We've got to give you this incredible experience, the service, and provide you a great product, the book.
Yeah. And for clarity on the model, you are not currently producing the books, are you?
Oh, yeah. We help authors, write, publish, and market their books. The only thing that we don't actually physically do is the printing. We upload the files and we use the printers for that, but we do the interior layout, the cover design, the manuscript, proofreading, editing, register the ISBN number, get it up on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, blah, blah, blah. The only thing we don't physically do is the printing.
Do you think you ever will?
Man, you and I talked about that a little bit at the beginning. I don't believe we ever will, mainly because it's a different model. Now you're getting into OSHA and you're dealing with heavy machinery and things of that nature. So I don't think we're going to go down that party. And, while there are still physical books are still very much in demand, so much of this is shifted as well to, ebooks, audio books. So I don't believe we'll ever get into the actual printing business.
What is the distribution of that? So of the people that consume the books that you produce, and just for clarity for people, you have a range, but my understanding of Scribe is that it was previously called Book in a Box. And I think that it has changed since then a little bit, or a lot of it. But the idea that was presented to me by Tucker years ago was people have stories, but not everybody is an author. And so we want to be able to extract those stories in book format and help you get that information out of your head and format it into a book and produce the book for you.
So you now, as a matter of fact, that's actually how I became the CEO. I wanted my first book written for my children. Again, I got a GED, man. I can't tell you an adverb from an adjective. You ask me what is my day to day, man. They still won't let me do proofreading up in here. But yes, what our process allowed me to do was to sit back. Someone sat with me and they asked me questions and I would give them, my past, my story. And then they would ask me additional questions, which would then pull out the details for the story, which make for a great book. But it's been proving one of the hardest things to do is to think and to write at the same time, because inevitably what happens is you're writing down one story And as you're writing it down, you're like, oh man, I remember this one time, but you can't get the current story right. You can't get it out fast enough. And then you forget the other one. Well, we just want to have a conversation where, Brad, you're telling me about, when you were back when you first started the company, and what's going to happen, it's going to start triggering things. You're like, oh my God, I remember this one time. Then boom, you can go into it. Now we've got all of this information captured. It's up to us to structure it, make sure it flows correctly. But the key to this, Brad, is it's your words, your content, your voice, your tone, your book. We're not ghostwriters in the traditional sense. You can't come to us and say, hey, JeVon, will you go write go research the new iPhone 14. I go do a bunch of research, come back, we slap Brad on the book, and boom, there's your book. No. Your words, your tone, your voice, your content, your book.
Love that. Definitely helpful. And manufacturing books is certainly a different business model.
Yeah, very much, man. We don't get into that party now. What's cool? I shared this with you. We built out our own audiobook room, and so now we're actually recording the audiobooks here. So yeah, dope. Authors come in. We do the audiobook here, and we've even set it up now because content is king. So we record our authors doing their audiobooks. So then we use that for content to market and all that good stuff. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask is what's the distribution on sales and consumption of books today? How many people, when you produce a book, when you finalize the book, how many people buy it in like physical form versus Kindle versus audiobook? Do you know?
Here's one. And I know David Goggins is a big outlier, but this really will give people insight to the power of online. So David Goggins' book never went into bookstores. So you never saw it in the airport. You never saw it in bookstores unless maybe it was a used bookstore, but it you never saw it in bookstores. It was Amazon, Audible, ebook. So that in itself shows you the power of online sales. So most people buy the audiobook because the freedom to, if you're driving, if some people like to listen to it on the airplane, walking through the airport. So audiobook sales are by far the number one. But like I said, man, anybody that tells you that print books are dead, they're full of shit because, man, we move a lot of books.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about Kindle?
Oh, a ton is as well. I still stand by this though. Audiobooks still are bigger than Kindle. Kindle, oddly enough, man, Kindle and print pretty close to each other.
I personally, audiobooks definitely reign supreme for me. I can consume a lot more, particularly with, and this is, I don't know of any other audiobook that functions like this, but the Goggins book, the way that you all did the audio on that was amazing because it was a chapter of the book, and then an interview with Goggins and the person he worked with to actually handle the writing in between each chapter. So it was good.
You'll love this, Brett. We were the first company, and that was the first audiobook that was ever done that way.
Oh, so good, man. It was so good.
His next one, oh man, you got get the audiobook, man. It goes deep.
I will be listening to it while I run, I'm sure. just for him and me. Awesome. So yeah, and then for me next is paper because I like the tactical experience of that over a Kindle. I think part of it too is like this sense of accomplishment of getting through the book. And I get to see how deep I am in the book when I'm reading it versus the Kindle where it's just one screen all the time. I don't know.
Well, anyway. Here's where the print still wins as well for a lot of people. Maybe like a Goggins book, or maybe it's a business book. A lot of people like to go in and highlight or tag a page or whatever, so they can quickly get back to it. So the physical copy, that's where a big win comes in as well on the physical copies.
Yeah, I like it. But, I hear about people, I have friends that use Kindle for that, and they'll highlight things in their Kindle, and then it's all indexed and searchable, and all of it's in one place. You can just go look at your highlights, and you can see how many other people highlighted this thing, right? You can look at the most highlighted things in a book, and that shit's really cool to me.
That is cool.
I just need less time in front of the screen,
right?
And less time, and you know what I mean, like, and less time in front of devices like that.
Yep.
Awesome, man. Well, I know we're coming up at time here, and I want to respect yours, but I also want to point people towards you, because I think that you've got a lot of super valuable stuff for entrepreneurs to learn from in a fun way. So if people want to find out more about you, your books, Scribe, whatever you feel like pointing to, where do they go?
Man, you want to find out more about me personally? The only real social I'm one that I engage with is LinkedIn. Yeah, again, I post a lot of my mistakes, a lot of my thoughts, questioning, business. Why do we do things the way we do them? And then, scribemedia.com, or you can go to JeVonMcCormick.com and find my books on there. And man, here's one, Brad. I'll share this with you. So my second book came out July 5th. Man, it sold out on Amazon day one. Now, we're the publisher, man. Caught us completely flat-footed. Sold out. Like, that should never happen from the publisher. But it sold out on day one, man. So that's
awesome, dude.
Yeah, that was awesome. It hit number 3 on Wall Street Journal bestseller list. So that was pretty cool.
Congrats, man.
Thank you, sir.
That's great. What's the name of the book?
Modern Leader.
Yeah, I'm going to have to finish it, because I started it and I didn't finish it, which is not a reflection of the book, more a reflection of my own capacity to keep it together.
Nice.
That's great, man. Well, thanks so much for carving out the time, dude. It's great to pull some things out of your brain and get them in front of our audience.
My man, Brad, hey, we're in the same city, man. You can feel free to stop by the office.
I'm going to take you up on that. I tell people often when they say things like this, I say, don't say it to me if you don't want me to do it, because I am the kind of guy that'll take you up on it.
Oh, come by, man. It's, you may know this. So we talked about the expansion. Unfortunately, I lead with that. So what we expanded into was hops and grain. It used to be, yeah, man. So the original bar that was in hops and grain, we left it in there. So nice. It's there still has the hops and grain sign on it. But yeah, we're a little nostalgic. We left it on there, man. But yeah, you got to come check it out. That's great. I have been in that place, and I'm sad it's gone. But yeah, it was really sad to see how that went down too, man, because they truly, COVID, oh man, just took them under. And it was sad to see the 18-wheelers show up and come and seize the beer vats, and it was sad to watch how that went down. But being the National Geographic vulture that I am, I went and seized the office space. I love it. Well, there's capitalism for you. Yeah, man, that's it, man. I am a capitalist through and through, man. That's right, man. Love it. Well, thanks again, man. I appreciate the time. Always good talking to you. Brad, my man, I look forward to seeing you here in the office, man. Thanks, man. If you learned one thing on this episode, share it with another entrepreneur. They need to hear it. Also subscribe so that new episodes just show up on your phone. It's a lot easier that way. And if you want the really good stuff, check out our free BAM! Tactics and Strategies course. It's where we curate the best tips, tricks, and tools that our guests know, whether they've shared them on the podcast or not. Just go to beyondamill.com. You'll also find previous episodes and show notes at beyondamill.com.